I was taking a look at your website and I looked at the issues tab, and there's a bunch of them, but I want to talk to you about affordability. Tell me how you can help the voters in District 6 have a more affordable life.
Yeah, I think the number one thing that we're seeing right now that's causing the crisis with the prices is government spending. Because we have $39 trillion in national debt. Whenever I was born, it was around $6 trillion. So it has exploded over the last 25, 26 years. And government spending is the real tax because even if it doesn't show up in our taxes now, whenever you increase government spending, it's going to either be paid for through printing money, because if we're spending a 2 point whatever trillion dollar deficit every year, we don't actually have the money to cover everything. So we're just going to print money and make up the difference. Well, when you dilute the dollar, if I give you a rare coin and say this is one of one, it's very rare, and then right after I give it to you, I go back to my house and I make five more, it's significantly less rare. And that's what's happening with our dollars whenever they're printing more. And so it's government spending. And then even then, if they're not printing money, then they're just going to raise taxes later in order to cover things. And so it just creates this vicious cycle where everything just continually gets more and more expensive. And so that's the number one thing that I would do in Congress is actually have the spine to say no to more spending. Because right now we see from current conservatives and Republicans, they campaign on fiscal responsibility. They say they're going to do one thing. And then whenever they get there, they rubber stamp whatever Washington wants them to do. And that's what we saw last year from Congressman, or we've seen it for the last several years, but specifically the last year from Congressman Palmer. He says, we're going to rein in, we're going to do DOGE, we're going to do all these things. And then when it comes down to the big, beautiful bill, it adds another 2 point whatever trillion dollars to the deficit, as well as raising the debt ceiling, the largest we've ever seen in history. And he rubber stamps it along with all the other Republicans, which is not conservative. And then you go on, fast forward to the appropriations bills. All the Republicans are patting themselves on the back. Hey, we passed 12 appropriations bills for the first time in how many years? Well, it's like, well, yeah, it's actually easy to pass 12 appropriations bills whenever you don't make any real changes and you just increase spending and rubber stamp everything the way it was for the last 4 years. So it's just a matter of actually having the spine to say no to spending and actually stand up for what's right, regardless of whose party's in power.
I hate to not be optimistic, but what do you think is going to happen to the country if we can't get the deficit under control, if the trillions keep racking up in the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see the country?
Well, in the near future, what's going to happen is Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security are going to get cut, which is not, I think none of us want to see that. And so any politician that gets up and says, hey, I'm going to protect Social Security and Medicare, and then they tell you they're going to do that by not touching it and not doing anything and not making any changes in regards to spending, they're just lying to you. Because if you were truly looking out to preserve these programs, then you would have to make some hard decisions. And so it's a matter of, if you're someone that's on Social Security right now, and I said, hey, in 10 years, there may or may not be a cut in your funding, don't worry about it. Or if I went to you and said, hey, in 10 years, there will be a slight decrease or there will be some slight changes, you have 10 years to prepare. I think you'd rather be in the camp where you have 10 years to prepare rather than the camp that it may or may not happen and then it's just sprung on you. And so that's where we're at right now. And so that's what I see happening if we don't make changes, is we see people's funding get cut overnight. And then you have family members that are having to help out their elderly parents or I don't know what the ramifications are going to be at that time, but I do know it's really going to hurt the people that have paid in and the people that were promised it's their money. You pay in Social Security their entire lives and it's getting cut. And so that's where I see it's going to happen in the next 5 years or 10 years. I think it's going to be less than that. 2032 right now, there's going to be a 22% cut to Social Security. So if we don't make any changes, that's what's going to happen.